Hello everybody, welcome back to the video, and today I'm going to be discussing the Stranger Things finale. Who is going to die, what fates I think certain characters are going to have, and a very controversial opinion on who will probably be the one to kill the big bad. So without further ado, let's get into this. So the first character I'm going to discuss is the character I think it's most likely that we are going to see him die, and that is Will. Because of one detail. If they want to kill Vecna / the Mind Flayer, whoever it winds up being, I think it's probably the Mind Flayer. Mind Flayer's a creepier villain. Plus, story-wise, from what the show has outright said, it would make sense for it to be the Mind Flayer in control of Vecna. But regardless, Will is a part of the hive mind. So, I think that if they have to destroy every piece of the hive mind, then Will himself must be destroyed. Which could lead to one of the predictions I have a little bit later. So let's talk about a duo. There's a couple of duos I'm going to do at the same time, but some of the duos I've broken up. Okay. Let's talk about Mike and Eleven. I think they will survive, but I think they're going to fake their deaths. The military is hunting 11. They will not stop. So, if 11 still has her powers by the end of the series, then it is my prediction that Mike and 11 will fake their deaths in the battle against Vecna, maybe with the bomb or something. But their deaths will be faked. Everyone's going to believe it. No one will know the truth. They go move to, I don't know, Florida or something. Just picking a random state. Yeah, let's just say Florida. Why not? Pretty far away. I mean, 11 went to California. That's on the complete other side of the country. Maybe instead of going sideways, maybe they go down in the country. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. Yeah, I think that they're going to fake their deaths. Lucas, I think there is a good chance he dies. Right? So throughout a lot of season 4, Lucas really couldn't do a lot to help Max, and really couldn't do anything this season until the rescue later on in season 2, in which Max comes back to life at the end of it. But I could see Lucas in a situation where Max is in peril and he decides that he is going to protect her, and that ultimately leads to his death. It's a likely contender to happen, but I don't think it would be to stop Vecna. A lot of these deaths, I think, would happen to either stop Vecna or protect another character. This is one of those instances. So, I think that Lucas could die, but I think Will's death is more likely. Let's talk about probably the most famous duo in the show, Dustin and Steve. Now, I deliberately made the decision to put these two together because of one line that's been repeated. If you die, I die. They have set these characters, their fates, as connected, right? One of them dies, they both die. One of them lives, they both live. I think that they will survive for a couple of reasons. Number one, Steve is sort of like the Daryl Dixon of Stranger Things. If you don't know, Daryl Dixon is a character on The Walking Dead who was just originally a side character, but fan love for the character caused him to get a more pivotal role in the series, ultimately getting his own spinoff. And I could actually see Steve being one of the key players in that upcoming spinoff. We don't know if it's going to be set in the future or if it'll be set in the past. If it's after the series, this could be an interesting route to go down, with Steve and a few of the other survivors maybe deciding they're going to leave Hawkins behind and get an RV and go on Scooby-Doo-like adventures, a Monster of the Week style format. It could be fun. Heck, who knows? This could even be how Mike and 11 stay on the move. They could be part of this mystery crew. But I think that because of the fan love for these characters, and essentially I think that Netflix and the Duffer Brothers know the popularity of this duo, and that they might burn all bridges with the fandom if they kill them off. I think they're safe. Now, I would like to say that there is a possibility that everybody makes it out alive. However, I do not think this will be like the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Because I think the main villain will definitely die. Let's talk about a few other players quickly before I continue with the main cast. Vecna's dead. Vecna, the Mind Flayer, all that, dead. Okay. The kids that Vecna abducted, I think they're going to make it out. That's an easy one. Eleven's sister, Kali, why bring her back? That's my big question. Why? Yeah, she's gonna die. I think that if you were to talk about how much of most disliked Stranger Things characters, she might not be on the level of like season 2 Billy, because Billy is still kind of on the lower tier of characters that people don't like, but I think he got a little bit more popular with some of the later stuff from season 3. I think it's very mixed in terms of the Billy redemption arc. Some people love it, some people hate it. I kind of like it. And the story that it led to was season 4. Season 3 was just the best season, by the way. But I think, right, like, second least popular character is probably Kali. So I could see her dying. I think that's a safe bet. Let's get back to the main cast. Max. I think she survives. She's in the weakest state right now, but at the same time, I think that that she will survive. Sadie Sink is she's a pretty decently sized actress in terms of her fame. She's about to be in Spider-Man and Avengers Secret Wars, if I heard correctly. She's like the first confirmed cast member apart from Robert Downey Jr. for Secret Wars, which is crazy. But yeah, she survives, and I think that there's two different options in my head for what the final scene of the series is going to be. One of them, I think, is going to be like a new group starting a new Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Right, and it will feature a mix of some of the old gang and some of the survivors. So, if they don't do the Dustin and Steve and one other character I'm going to get to later spinoff, I could see Dustin being a part of this new group. I could see Max being a part of it along with a few other characters. Right, the final scene being the beginning of a new Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Nancy, I think she's just going to survive. I think she's going to survive. The finale, I would be genuinely shocked if she dies. Jonathan, on the other hand, I think he's dead. I think he is a goner. Yeah, not looking great for that particular family. But I do think that particularly with Jonathan's breakup with Nancy, I think that honestly, it would really make sense for him to die, and I actually kind of think I know how it would happen, which is you have in the show, Jonathan has this sort of, right now it's sort of like this buddy rivalry, for lack of a better term, with Steve. Right, in season 1, they were like hated enemies of each other. You had that fight in episode 6, and you start to see fences slightly mended with Steve helping in the fight against the Demogorgon in the finale. But wouldn't it be super interesting for Jonathan to die saving Steve's life? That's what I think Jonathan's death will be. Not saving Nancy, not saving Joyce, saving Steve. But speaking of Joyce, I think she will survive. And I also think, in probably the most controversial opinion of this video, Joyce will be the one that kills Vecna. Now, I think Vecna / the Mind Flayer, but I can kind of imagine it in my head, right? If Will has to die in order to defeat the bad guy, Joyce is gonna make sure that that happens. So I could see it being like a barely survives thing, but I could see, right, if they go down this route, I could see her dying. But at the same time, I feel like there's also a strong chance that she would survive. The big thing that goes against Joyce being the one to end Vecna is she's at the radio station. She's not in the Upside Down. Who knows, right? Vecna, the Demogorgons have the ability to make rifts. It's possible they make one. She goes into the Upside Down. That's when all this goes down. I could see that being the case. But I do think that's a very low chance of that happening. But Winona Ryder was like the original big star attached to the series. So I think that it would make sense for her to be the one that kills the big bad. Especially since Vecna was responsible for the abduction of Will during season 1. Okay, Hopper. A lot of people's like, oh no, is Hopper going to die? I think Hopper's death is something they're setting up, but it's not going to happen. Right? I think Hopper will survive the series. He will be injured, but he will survive. I think that Hopper's story needs to conclude with him finding happiness. Right? Because if it ends with death, then that makes his character arc super depressing. But, he's got something pretty good going on right now. You've got Eleven as his adopted daughter. He's doing good with Joyce. By the way, I could see a potential ending being like a flash forward by a couple of years to a wedding of Hopper and Joyce. I could see that being the final scene. So I do think Hopper will survive, but he will be injured. Maybe he'll have like a scar across his face or missing a hand. He's not going to make it out unscathed, but he will survive. Murray is dead. I think Murray will die because he is a fun character to watch. But at the same time, I do think that there is a good chance he is like the first casualty, the first death in the finale. He's the one driving the truck into the Upside Down. So he's sort of like the one leading the charge against Vecna. And actually, random thought just popped into my head. His death could be another sacrifice to protect someone else. It's possible that Murray could sacrifice himself to protect Erica. Because arguably Murray's probably second most iconic moment in the series is his interaction with Erica during the season 3 finale. It's a very brief sequence, but it's a very funny sequence that I think people generally remember. It would be a good callback to have this be how Murray goes out, protecting Erica. Especially since they did not have the best meeting in the world. Which brings me to Erica, who I think will survive. And if they do that ending that I was talking about with a new D&D party getting started, I think they very clearly set up Erica as someone who will continue it, maybe even with Holly. But, I discussed her with the other children that Vecna abducted. Well, I didn't say her name directly, but she's included in that. So I think she'll survive. Robin. I think Robin will survive. A lot of people will probably think that that's crazy. But at the same time, she has fun dynamics with a lot of other characters, particularly Steve, and that sort of Scooby Doo style spinoff I brought up earlier with Steve and Dustin going around the country. I said one other person could be a fun inclusion in that. I think Robin would be fun. Seeing Steve, Dustin, and Robin travel around the country, looking into the supernatural. That could be a fun spinoff. You got three pretty popular characters on the show that people generally like and that have good comedic chemistry together. Heck, you could throw Erica in there and just have it be the quartet of the invaders of the Russian base from season 3. I think people would be cool with that. Season 3 is generally popular. I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of survival. Right? Saying that Mike will survive, Dustin and Steve will survive, that Eleven will survive, that Max will survive, that Nancy will survive, Joyce will survive, Hopper will survive, Erica will survive, Robin survives, and all the kids will survive. But I do think that you can't kill off the entire cast, but some of them are not making it out alive. So that's my predictions for the finale. That basically it will generally go like Murray will die first. You'll probably get a couple other casualties, people like Lucas and Jonathan somewhere around the middle. You'll have Will. His death will begin Act 3 with sort of like the final layer of the final layer of protection of Vecna being destroyed, like the Horcruxes in Harry Potter, for a good analogy. And then Joyce or someone will kill Vecna / the Mind Flayer. And I'm saying Joyce because I think that for her character and how protective she's been of Will, I know that makes sense. I know a lot of the season 5 arc has been about her trusting her son's instincts a little bit more, but I do think that sort of protective nature would come back should Will die. Like that anger would come back and maybe give her the strength that she needs to kill Vecna / the Mind Flayer. So there you have it. Who do you think is going to die? Leave it in the comments. Also, what do you think would be a fun spinoff for Stranger Things? I just told you mine, that it's to Steve, Dustin, and Robin going around solving Scooby-Doo-like mysteries. I think it would be a fun one. Anyway, that's it for this video. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.